It's words like this that make me talk at age 67 and come here. And I'm very happy that all of you have come for this occasion. I thank all of you because you are the one who make me. This evening we're going to talk about assertiveness, as it was announced. When I hear intros like this, particularly when the lady introduced me, I wonder who is she talking about. So let me reintroduce myself. And for this purpose, I need to introduce myself a little differently than what you have heard. I come from Ahmedabad, born and brought up, and very proud of it. So first let me introduce Ahmedabad so you know where I'm coming from. So Ahmedabad is a very interesting place. Ahmedabadi people have two things in their mind at all times. One, if somebody is doing something, they wonder why he or she is doing it. Second question they ask, how can we benefit from that person's action? Let me illustrate. One time during the Olympic game, the man who carries the torch was to run through the streets of Ahmedabad. Ahmedabadis have nothing to do because Morarji Bhai, Gandhiji made sure people are not entertained well. So they're always looking for some excitement. So early in the morning, the maps appeared in front pages of Gujarat Samachar, Sandesh and every paper. And all the Ahmedabadis crowded the street. And the man at the appointed hour started running through the streets carrying the torch. And the Ahmedabadis followed him with two questions in their mind. Why is he doing it? How can we benefit? The man is running, the crowd is running after him. They come to the outskirts of the city. 2 more steps, the man will be gone. So they turned to the mayor of the city. He said, Kaka, what about our question? So the mayor told the athlete, he said, please wait. So the man started jogging on the spot, carrying the torch. He said, why are you doing this? He said, I'm doing this. It's a great tradition that started in Greece centuries ago, and I'm continuing that tradition. He said, no, tell us the real truth. He says, a spirit of sport ignited by Philippides. He said, no, forget Philippides and forget the spirit and forget the tradition. Garnachi bada. Achu bolna bhai. Tell us the real truth. The man had the same answer. Ahmedabad is a very low threshold of boredom. So they said, Kaka, forget why he's doing it. How can we benefit from this? So the mayor scratched his fertile head. He said, bring the torch down. The man is so confused by this time, he's jogging on the spot, brings the torch down. The mayor turns to Ahmedabad, he says, Bhaiya, cigarette video, sargai lo. Save on a match. This is how the place is. And in a place like that, as I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to be a teacher. My father told me it's a noble profession, leave it for noble people. Because teaching does not bring money. I said, okay, I dropped mathematics, joined elementary school to teach, started earning 25 rupees a month. And see what I told you? When I graduated, I got 177 rupees in a high school teaching. Engineers were getting 350. He said, see, he's getting double the money. I said, I'll make it, don't worry. So I used to apply for all kinds of scholarship. And what I'm telling you is a direct relationship to the subject we're going to talk about. So I was applying for all kinds of scholarships. One day there was a big ad in the paper, Rotary International will send one person to America, everything paid for 1 year. You have under 24 years of age, bachelor's degree in honors in any discipline, apply. So half of the Gujarat applied. It's free, So we all applied. I also applied. There was a committee of 6 members, headed by Ratilal Kushal Das Patel, who was the chairman of the Cricket Association of India at that time. And they shortlisted, 18 of us were called for an interview in Kama Hotel in Ahmedabad. First thing they told us to do was to give 5-minute lecture on Indian culture. Now most people were not used to talking in front of a group. I was teaching Hindi, Sanskrit music, which could pass in the name of Indian culture. So I gave my talk for 5 minutes. After 18 of us were heard, they told 14 to go home, and each one of us was interviewed for about 1 hour each by this 6-member committee. At the end of it, they unanimously decided I was the one who was to go to America. I got very excited. So I got to a friend of mine. His name was Mark Christie. I said, Mark, I'm going to America. He started laughing. I said, why are you laughing? He said, what are you going to do there? I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't speak English. Because my entire education was in Gujarati medium. He said, you don't speak English. You have no manners. You don't drink liquor. You cannot use the knife and the fork. What do you do in America? So I realized he was right. I said, Mark, what do I do? He said, meet you indeed. Liquor is not available. I teach you some manners, some English, and how to use the knife and the fork. So 2 months before my departure, I became his disciple. So he taught me how to hold the knife and the fork. It was all wrong because he taught me the British way, Americans do the other way around. And he taught me some English. He said, when you meet somebody for the first time, you shake hands and say, how do you do? So the person will also say, how do you do? When you depart, you say, nice meeting you, or nice to have met you. If they offer you something, you say, thank you. If they say, thank you, so you're welcome, or don't mention it. I memorized 200 sentences. 5th of February, 1964, ladies and gentlemen, I landed at the San Francisco International Airport with 200 sentences in English, suitcase, and a sitar. I had sent a telegram before my departure by such and such flight, so they sent the Rotary secretary to receive me at the airport. He came carrying my telegram, and he could find me right away because I was the only one looked stupid enough at the airport. He didn't have to do any profiling. He comes and he says, are you Rooshikumar Pandya? I say, yes, sir. So he extended his hand. I said, how do you? He said, how do you do? I said, how do you do? He said, let's get the hell out of here. Mark had never taught me about this. So I said, what is this? I should not forget my manners. I said, thank you for coming, sir. I'm expecting to say you're welcome or don't mention it. He said, you betcha. I don't know what it means. I don't know how to spell it, and I'm afraid to ask. Next flight back to Ahmedabad. So ladies and gentlemen, we get in the car. Now imagine, I have not eaten for 24 hours because I couldn't make any sense out of the menu to find out what was veg, what was not non-veg. I have not slept because my biological clock was all mixed up crossing the international date line. So I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, he's driving. First time in my life I'm sitting in a car. I'm 24 years old. On the plane I've collected the paper napkins and plastic cups because I've never seen anything like that in my life. So it's a souvenir. Somebody asked me, here is the proof that I've been on a plane. So I'm holding on to my treasure, and he's driving the car and he's asking me questions. I'm hungry and I'm sleepy. He said, Rooshi, is it okay if I call you Rooshi? I said, yes, sir, it's okay. What does your father do? I thought that was an easy question to answer. I said, oh, sir, he's a painter. Oh, he paints houses. Now, my father never painted a house in his life. So I had a problem. So Mark had instructed, translate from Gujarati into English as best as you can. I said, no, sir, not houses. Colors, pictures, canvas, brushes. So he looks at me and says, oh, he's an artist. So I made a mental note. Next time they ask me, I don't have to say painter, I have to say artist. So I'm learning English. Mark also instructed me that if they ask you something, you got to ask something. So I said, sir, what do you do? He says, I'm a funeral director. In my life at that time, there were 3 directors that I heard of: music director, drama director, and a film director. Never heard of funeral director. I'm afraid to ask because if I ask, I'm supposed to be a scholar. So I said, that's very nice. See, America is a country of euphemism. They use a nice word for saying something that's not very nice. It's known for it. When somebody dies, which is not civilian casualty, it's known as collateral damage. They come out the biggest terms for funniest thing. And I remember one of my roommates from here, Ahmedabad, he came to America 3 years later. And I was coming back at that time for visit. And he said, meet my parents, but don't tell them I'm a lift operator in America. I said, okay. So I went to meet his father and mother. I said, your son conveys his pranam and respect to you. So father said, oh, my son has got a good job. And I was surprised because I know what he was doing. So I said, did he write to you about it? He said, yes. I said, what did he write? He said, he's working in vertical communication. So ladies and gentlemen, for first 6 months, life was a challenge. Everything was new to me: the culture, the language, the studies, the food. And fortunately for me, I was the only Indian student at that time in the entire university. So I couldn't rush to somebody to find out what it means. So I was thrown into the culture and I had learned and mastered it to survive. Most of the Americans were very nice to me because I was a Rotary scholar, so 100 families knew me from day one. But once in a while, a guy will come and put his arm around me and say, hey, you dumb Indian. Why are you a vegetarian? Why don't you kill those damn cows and wandering in the streets of India and feed those starving millions? I didn't know what to say. I had no answer. I never thought about it. So I smiled. 2 types of people smile a lot: idiots and masters. I was an idiot. You ask Gautam Buddha a question, he will smile at you and make you feel very stupid. If you ask Mahavir Swami a question, he will smile. If they feel generous, they tell you a story. Masters do not answer questions. So here I was, and I thought this was happening to me because I came from an underdeveloped country, euphemistically called a developing country. You know, it suggests, when you call it developing, it suggests some sort of a process. At that time, they didn't think much of India, the snakes and the cows. So, I thought this was happening to me because of that. But, ladies and gentlemen, I was 100% wrong. While this was happening to me, precisely similar experiences were had by American students of my age in southern part of California. I was in northern part of California, and these people had volunteered to be Peace Corps volunteers, which was a program started by John F. Kennedy, that people, mainly science graduates, who will go to Brazil, Pakistan, India, and teach the farmers about irrigation system and animal husbandry and so on. And the government will pay them stipend, and this will give them an experience. These groups of people who were there, but they were trained. Before they were sent, they were given training and said they're going to Tamil Nadu. So they'll be taught something about the Dravidian culture, the Indian culture, Aryan culture, something about the food habits in the south and so on, and the weather condition and so on. Before sending them to those countries, there will be a role-playing situation, an exam as it were, where the professors will become Tamil Nadu farmers and interview these volunteers. So the psychology professor puts some Mundu and Scots on the floor and says, Amma, why are you here? So the American student says, I'm here to teach you about irrigation. So this person says, where is your mother? So the American student says, my mother is in old people's home. Oh, your mother who carried you for 9 months, you put her in old people's home? What kind of a son are you? Now this is the first time American realized that his mother carried him for 9 months. It's an Indian concept, you know. Americans don't think like that. We think like that. For them, it's a biological function. They didn't ask for it. So, he doesn't know how to answer it. Or if he goes to, say, if the guy says he's going to Mexico, so the Mexican farmer says, hey, senora, why is this American government putting all this dollaria in our country? Are you a CIA spy or something? This guy didn't know how to answer. So they also felt nervous and defensive when such questions were asked, just like I felt nervous and defensive when I was asked, why don't they kill the cows? So the faculty members of this group, they realized that what they were teaching them in terms of culture and the language and the food habits, all that was not good enough for these people to survive in a culture where the lifestyle and value system was completely different than theirs. Something else was required. So the faculty had one psychologist. His name was Dr. Manuel Smith, who wrote international bestseller, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. He devised a program of training which came to be known as assertiveness skills training, which is based on two main disciplines, communication and behavioral psychology. Communication and behavioral psychology. So what I'm sharing with you is what he developed plus my personal experiences for 19 years in North America. Now what is assertiveness? I give you a working definition. Philosophically speaking, all definitions are working definitions because when we define something, we leave something out. So let me give you a working definition of assertiveness. Assertiveness, ladies and gentlemen, is your ability to act in harmony with your self-esteem without hurting others. Let me repeat. Assertiveness is your ability to act in harmony with your self-esteem without hurting others. Now let's split this into three parts. First part is, assertiveness is your ability to act. So the operative word is act. An assertive person acts, does not react. This is the first and foremost requirement. If you want to call yourself assertive, you got to initiate action, not wait for somebody to do it and then you react. So assertiveness is your ability to act. Second part is in harmony with your self-esteem, which also presupposes that you know what constitutes your self-esteem. Now most people pay lip service, like middle class Indians, you ask them, what do you think of yourself? What are some adjectives that you apply to yourself? I'm honest, I'm conscientious, I'm loyal to my friends, and they will rattle up all kinds of things like that. When they say they're honest, then you ask me, have you ever submitted a voucher to the company when you took a cab instead, you took a bus instead and you collected taxi money from the company? Well, everybody does it. That is his response. So he doesn't consider that a dishonest act. So we have not examined our life. We just say lip service to a whole lot of values that we think we subscribe to. So the first and foremost thing that you examine your life and check out what constitutes your self-esteem.